Hey, DJ Alessandrini here. Another weekly reference lap here with the Grid Life iRacers. This week we're at Brands Hatch again in the Miata. This is the series finale. Brands Hatch is an extremely difficult track. It wants you dead in multiple places. We'll go over those in the third part of the video. But first, I'm just going to shut up and we're going to watch the lap. Okay, so that was a 37.887 or something along those lines, and I'm switching it up a little bit from last week. We're just going to go over kind of what I'm looking for and what I'm doing before we hop in the data. This week's data is provided by Max Lufer. So thank you to Max for putting together some laps so we could go learn some stuff. But I'm going to go over what I'm looking for, kind of what I'm doing, what I'm trying to accomplish during the lap right now, and then we'll look at Max's data later and kind of see some mistakes that you might be making as well and what that looks like on the data. Okay, so turn one, there's a little bit of a hump right here. That's kind of where I'm braking. I don't really look at these brake markers, to be honest. I'm just kind of, it's like right at the top of the hump is where I'm braking. And I guess if you wanted to look at the brake markers, it's just before the 50 is where I'm braking. But the important thing here is we're turning in between the dirt and the grass here. And you want to be to the left, as far left as possible. It's real easy to get sucked in here because turn one's a really weird shape. I try to stay off this curbing, but if you touch it, it's not too bad. That's not that bad of a thing. It just slows you down a little bit, but in my experience, it doesn't really murder you that much. And you want to use all the track here, and if the car has any kind of slide in it as you're coming down the hill, you want to make sure that the wheel's straight as the car will inevitably catch on the bottom of this, so you don't go off dying. And you can use the bottom of the hill to finish up that last little bit of the corner. Which is what I do here. The trajectory coming off that corner would have had me going off the track, but the car compresses down, and you get that last little bit of grip right before you go off track. And here I'm just braking at the 50 or on fresh tires, just a tad after the 50, and then I quickly turn in, because you see how there's a little bit of a rise here. You get the car's being pressed into the hill here, and you're going to get a little bit of turning done before you come over the hill. So we're already angled toward the inside of the corner. We're not making a large swoopy line, and there's a lot of grip right next to this curb. So we just want to be next to that curb as long as possible. And then you want to be on power where your left tires are skidding across this fun-sounding curbing. And through 4 up here, we're just rolling a lot of speed. You can run all out here. There's like a weird grid concrete thing that's not an off track. Just let it hang out. And then this is the most difficult corner on the track just because it doesn't feel good no matter what you do. And the important thing here is to just turn in later than you probably want to, and just have a really good, crisp commitment to throttle. This straightaway is the passing zone on the track. This and the front straight are the passing zones on the track. So you want a really good exit out of that corner. And then this one is you dial in this turn, which I think is turn 5. So in turn 5, you want to turn in early enough where you barely stay on track, but not so late where you overslow for the corner and now you're just going slow down this entire straight. So in this corner, I commit in and then I fix whatever happens afterwards. So on this particular lap, I'm having to lift a little bit, not full throttle, mid corner, just because I know I'll run out of track. That's obviously not as good as it could have been, but I find that you'll average a better lap time just fixing the mistake on turn in rather than trying to have it be perfect and trying to have like a perfect turn in and then just being over slow because of your unwillingness to fix it mid corner. I don't know if that makes any sense, but basically you should be turning in where your car's starting to run onto this bigger piece of curbing and then you have time to bring it back over. That would be ideal. But that being said, if you're on the grass and you still have a bunch of wheel cranked in the car, you will go for a spin, and these walls are pretty close and you're going real fast here. So this one's important just to take a bunch of inside curbing here. And then same thing as the last one. Once you get to the outside, you need to open up the wheel a little bit. If you keep the same amount of wheel cranked in, you will go for a spin. It's a little less grippy out here, so you can have a bunch of wheel in it, bunch of wheel in it, bunch of wheel in it. You get to here, you need to open it up a little bit. And honestly, there's plenty of room to just run out here. I mean, if you look, there's curbing here, right? So people are running into this spot. So curbing on a racetrack exists because the racetrack got sick of planting grass and putting more dirt in that area. So they put curbing there. So people do run across this. So if you get to this point and you're fine to run out into the grass here even a little bit. Just, bring it back on track slowly. And then this one, same thing. You're just taking a bunch of inside curbing. And then you're trying to match when you're on throttle to where you barely don't run out of track. And this is the ultimate kill you zone, because if you dip any sort of tire into the grass over here, you're spinning into the guardrail and your race will be over. So just try to avoid that. Maybe play on the safe side if you can't consistently hit that corner. And then this one, I'm just trying to roll a lot of speed through the apex here, because if you look, it kind of banks in. There's a lot of, this is a very on-camber turn. It's way faster than you think it could be. And kind of like Alton Park last week, you're just getting on throttle where your car will slide out of the bank. So the momentum of the car carries it past the on-camber out onto the curbing out here. And then this one, you're just trying to hold a lot of speed through the apex again. Just let the car open up as it needs to. Use all of the track. And then quickly come back to the right side to carve distance. All right, we're gonna jump over to Max's lap here, and turn one right away. It looks like he kind of just dives in too hard. He brakes a little late, and also if you look at the GPS trace over here, he kind of starts in the middle of the track. So when he finally turns in, he's probably a car width to half a car width more on the inside than me. And what that does is it decreases the radius of his turn. So with the radius decreased, he can't hold as much speed through the apex of the corner. So it also looks like he kind of abruptly comes off the brake. And Max, as looking at your data before this, I think that's one of the things you need to work on is a slow release off the brakes to help pull the nose of the car into the corner. You'll see in a lot of your data that you're not. It's a kind of a snap off the brakes. All right, turn 2, which is that right-hander where we turn in a little early. You see that Max didn't quite turn in early here. And also, he didn't use all of the track on exit. Remember, you get your left tires on that fun-sounding curbing, and you increase the radius of this turn. So you turn in a little earlier because that's where the grip is, and also your carving distance. And then make sure to use all of the track. And if you look, we hit the brakes at the exact same time. And this particular corner, you do a much better job trailing off the brake here. So good job on that. And turn 3 is that left-hander at the bottom of the hill. And so far in this lap, I'm 3.5 tenths up on you. And after this section, I'll be 4 tenths up on you. And again, this one looks like it looks like you overslow a tiny bit. Oh, and now you're rolling more speed. I think you turned in earlier than me. You honestly didn't do too bad here. Trying to figure out why I came out with more speed than you. I think the way I was able to angle my car and pivot it in, and it's kind of hard to see on this, but I think you turned in a tad earlier than me. I think it delayed when you commit the throttle. So if we look at throttle right here, it looked like you you wanted to get into it at the exact same time as me, but probably the pitch and yaw of the car prevented you from being able to do that. So I was able to commit to throttle, which would be right here on the line. And it looks like I got a little slower than you. See how you do like a little stab of the brake here to take some speed off the car? Well, from here to there, you're basically coasting. While from here to there, I'm still using the brakes to help get the nose of the car into the corner. So yeah, I think I had a better yaw of the car. We might have even been in similar positions on the racetrack, but the nose of my car was angled into the corner better, so I was able to fully commit on the throttle. I was also going a little slower, so me being able to fully commit in the throttle was better. And then that means I hold more speed out of this, and then gain my advantage back. Because if you look at the little time graph right here, we're basically even. I got you a little bit, I lost some, and then leaving is where I get all of the time on this section alone. So, all right, turn 4. That's that left-hander that goes up the hill. Super tricky corner and super important since you go onto the back straight. And we're actually going to count turn 4 and the straightaway after turn 4 is one section. So, Max, in this section alone, I got 2 tenths on you. And I'd say this is the most crucial 2 tenths to get down, because if you come out of this corner slow, I guarantee you're going to be going side by side in a turn 5 with somebody, and that is a sketchy place to go side by side through. And during the race, it will be a place where you need to go side by side with somebody if you're trying to get past them. And the less amount of times you're fighting somebody into that corner, the more likely you are to survive the race. So getting this corner down is going to be extremely important. Just for one, what place you position in the race, and number 2, surviving the race. So if just looking at this right away, it looks like Max just dives into it super hard, and he also turns in real early, which I can kind of get that because you're trying to get to the hill. But when you get to the hill, the angle of your car, I think the hill starts around here. The angle of your car doesn't allow you to commit into throttle because the nose of the car isn't fully turned in to the point where you can commit the throttle. And so you came in a little faster. If you see up here, there's just this huge opening in the graph. But what happens is the angle of my car allows me to get into throttle, full commit. If you look, I'm full commit here on throttle, and well, almost full commit. I guess I was a baby and did a partial lift. My right foot wanted to lift, but or my right foot wanted to lift, but my brain said no. That's what this looks like right now. So, and also same thing again. I'm trailing off the brakes, and you kind of just pop off the brakes. You can kind of see a little bit of a trail trying to happen here. So that's just something that just needs to be refined. Then looking at the steering angle down here, it looks like you put a ton of steering angle into the car. That has to be more steering angle than required. We're gonna go over to the wheel spin and slip category as soon as it's done loading. And guys, if you haven't checked out the VRS data yet, you need to go in there and look around because I think there's like 255 different things that could be looked at. So, all right, we're looking at the front wheel slip, and let me see if I can figure this out. These are the front wheels. I think Max is the dotted line. If you look, he's full on negative 20% slip. So that's just a huge amount of slip here. So you were definitely just plowing the car. I don't have your video, but I guarantee you were just understeering like mad through this, and that's what was delaying your throttle. So yeah, you were pushing hard right here. And I think that's just the angle that you came in and how hard you attack that corner when really you just want to brake and then turn in a little later and just get a good angle so you can fully commit the throttle. And like I said, the straightaway, I get a tenth and a half on you. And if I'm behind you even a little bit and I have the draft, that's going to be even more time lost to the person behind you. And they'll probably be fighting you coming into turn 5. And turn 5's, this is a tough corner. There's a lot of commitment here, and yeah, I looked at this earlier, and it looked like on the G loads, it was underdriven just a little bit all through this spot right here, and I'm keeping the car at the limit with the throttle, and trying to keep it from going over the limit, and you could have probably been doing the same thing since our corners look very similar. You just a little slower. If you look right here where I'm maintaining the limit of the car, I'm in and out of throttle, and you're just kind of like tapping it. That's probably for stability on your end. But then if you look up here, the difference of the graph, I'm holding a lot more speed, and then I leave with more speed. So that's 2/10 right there alone. So decent chunk of time there, and we have a maximum of about a 6.5 mile an hour difference, and that's mid corner. So turn 6, you did pretty well. I come into a little faster and leave a little faster. And I think that's just trailing off the brakes, Max. I think you kind of like smush into the brake and then come back down. So what my brake looks like is I'm shedding a bunch of speed off of it, and then I'm using the brake to change the yaw of the car to set it into the corner. And then that allows me to fully commit on the throttle. And turn 7, which is the right-hander that crest over the top of the hill. I don't blame you for overslowing for this because this is a very scary corner. And but I'm rolling more speed through the apex, which just is obviously gonna. I'm flirting with death more than you here, so maybe maybe experiment with how much death you can get away with. And then turn 8, this one that's that banked corner, the left-hander that is really on camber, and you can roll a lot more speed through this corner than you think you can, and that's kind of what this looks like right here. And again, it looks like it looks like the fundamentals of trailing off the brake are there. You just need to work on that last little bit of the slope. That last little bit of the slope needs to exist. It looks like you're on like the 30% mark on the brake, and then you just kind of pop off of it. But so if I just popped off of it here, I'm leaving all this behind, and that's where the speed lies in this last little slope of the brake here. So just have that just be something that you focus on, and having this last little slope here. So yeah, just hold more apex of the corner through here, and I think the braking will help. And turn 9, that's the last right-hander on before the front straight. And it looks like you just played it a little safer than me. I'm not sure how you went more inside than me. You must have took some curb or something. So even on this one where I think just a quick jab with the brakes because you're flicking the car in, you see that your slope off the brake is more steep than mine. And I'm not focusing on what my foot feels like on the brake pedal. I'm focusing on using the brake to get the yaw of the car to where I want it, to where I can commit into throttle. If you look, it's like the moment my braking ends is when my gas starts. If we want to look over on the left side here, or we could look right here, either or. It's like the moment my brake is just ending, it's time to commit into throttle because the yaw of the car is being set by the brake pedal, and then it's party time with the throttle, as much as you can party in a Miata. And yeah, Max ran a 139.4, and I did a 137.8. And if you kind of think about it, there's a lot of the nuance of that extra apex speed and that extra exit speed is really how Max is coming off the brake. There's a couple of times in there, like turn 4 and turn 2, where Max, or turn 1, so turn 1 and turn 4, where Max just kind of came in a little hot. And it's not necessarily have to do with the braking technique, but a lot of the other places, especially turn 8, is just how you're coming off the brake. And this is something that you just work on over time. But once you know that weakness exists and what it looks like with the graph, eventually you'll be out there just thinking of the lines you're making on your braking trace as you're leaving the corner. You'll think, was that a nice ease off the brakes to help position the nose of the car in? And just knowing how your brake looks like on data is going to help you draw those better lines on your braking trace. All right, so that was a weekly reference lap here for the Grid Life iRacer series. This is DJ Alessandrini, and I know it was a little bit of a longer video this time, but I see a lot of people with that have the idea of the trail braking, and they tend to pop off on it, and they're missing that last little nuance of controlling the yaw of the car. So I really just wanted to talk about that this week, and I wish you guys all the luck on Tuesday, and I can't wait to see you out there, and it's going to be a fun race. All right, thanks.